You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Middle Age Movie Reviews Podcast. Three guys trying to phone home about 1,001 movies you should watch before you die, only to realize that there's no dial-up to the internet anymore, and their AOL hours don't matter. My name is Tim, and my podcasting partners are...
Missing Home Matt.
Joey.
Well, Joey, what are we attempting to stream, but only buffering tonight?
A 2-hour commercial for Reese's Pieces, directed by Steven Spielberg in 1982.
And the title?
E.T. E.T. the Extra Terrestrial. Brought to you by Coke.
And Coors beer. The bandit had a drive-by at their house.
Coors, the beer that gets 10-year-olds drunk when aliens drink it.
All right, Tim. When was the first time you saw E.T.?
Well, I don't remember, honestly. I'm positive it came out in 82, that would have been a film that my parents would have taken me to, for sure. But I don't remember sitting in the theater and watching it. I do remember watching it on VHS years later, but I'm positive I had to have been at a theater at some point to see it when it came out, and it's very long run. How about you, Matt?
Well, I kind of remember seeing it in the theater, but in 82, I was like 4 years old, so it's a little vague for me. But I do know that the movie ran for a very long time. I think it was like something like 81 weeks in the box office. So, I could have seen it a little later on, like maybe when I was 5, but still, it was such a long time ago that it's kind of hit or miss for me if I remember being in the theater to see it. But I do know that I've seen it, several times on television as well as back on VHS. What about you, Joey? What was the first time you watched E.T.?
I gotta say that if I saw it at the theater, I have no recollection of it. I may have been so small during like a second or third run. Back then, movies would play for years. I guess Spielberg was even against it going to home video until they told him how much money he was going to be missing out on. So I probably saw it in one of those, the network television premiere of E.T. the Extra Terrestrial. That's probably how I saw it. Vague memories of seeing it when I was a kid. I've seen bits and pieces of it going into adulthood again on TV. And just recently I've, revisited it and forgotten lots about it. I mean, now it's like, I focus in on little key details like who's the man with the keys? Who's the man with the keys? There's keys again. Them keys are jingling. He's got a lot of keys. So it's a different experience.
I got caught up in the key thing too, for sure.
I thought he was just the janitor, because the janitors always had lots of keys jangling as they walked down the hallways.
The Woods were just behind the high school, and then all the union janitors were just like, "What the fuck's going on out there, man? Look, those damn kids
out here with their beer cans and cigarettes. I gotta get out here and clean this. I hate my job." It's like the who's the caretaker in Harry Potter. That same thing. He's just wandering around. Kids.
Yeah.
The Mugblood.
Yeah, David Bradley.
Or no, it wasn't Mugblood.
I can't think of his name, but yeah, David Bradley.
Who was the archetype for Willie on The Simpsons?
I believe it's a culmination of every high school janitor we've ever met in our lifetime. Probably. It's a little bit of everyone.
And Sean Connery to get the Scottish accent in there.
And Sean Connery. And on occasion, Freddy Krueger.
Yes. Probably one of the better trios. All right.
Why don't you read us the synopsis like you're an old woman who smokes 2 packs of cigarettes every day?
There's this fucking alien and these kids. And the goddamn kids don't tell their mother.
After the...
Go ahead, Matt. Sorry. No, go ahead.
Put it on the... All right. After a gentle alien becomes stranded on Earth, The being is discovered to be friended by a young boy named Elliot, bringing the extraterrestrial to his suburban California house. Elliot introduces E.T. as the alien is dubbed to his brother and his little sister. The children decide to keep his existence a secret. Soon, however, E.T. falls ill, resulting in the government watchdog group intervening and resulting as a dire situation for both Elliot and the alien.
All right,
Oh,
honey, that was
best.
wonderful. I've heard a lot of
awesome.
raspy voice people before in casinos, and I gotta say, you were just spot on, honey. Just spot on. Wonderful, wonderful.
Why'd you want me to do that?
Okay, Matt, so I had you do that because the film sound designer overheard a woman in a camera store and decided that she had the right pitch to do E.T.'s voice. Her name was Pat Walsh, and she was a California housewife, had never acted before, and she smoked a lot. In fact, they basically said they reported that she smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day during the entire filming for E.T. so she could maintain her raspy voice, so she could actually do E.T. And then they mixed her voice and her raspy tone in also with some raccoons, horses, and otters. And that's how they basically came up with the name. So that's why I had you read it like that. But a delightful lady nonetheless, because I was once upon a time, I went to an indie casino. And I'm a cheap bastard, so I like to play like the nickel slots. And I hit it big. I think it was on the Monopoly game. And I got about $300 or $400. And this woman who was a slot arm jockey on the side of me with the packs of cigarettes and the beer looks over and says, honey, you've hit your big score for the night. Just take your money and go. You're not going to win anything else. And I was like, that sounds like a good advice because she sounds like she knows what she's doing because she's obviously been in here a very, very long time. So there you go.
And is that why she looked like
She
E.T.?
was very tan. Yes, very, very tan, very wrinkly. And smelled like she lived at the Marlboro factory for sure.
So her skin kind of looked like a wet dick.
I don't really study that a lot, Joey. So I'm just going to take it at face value that you would know what that looks like. And probably, based on your assumption, yes.
Yeah, it's, there's a lot of theories about E.T. Is he a plant-based creature? Is he, he looks wet all the time. Is he amphibious? He wants to save the frog. Or is he a dick?
I think
an actual
I can't stop talking like this.
I don't know.
I think according to Steven Spielberg, he is a plant-based animal with no gender. That's the word on the street. Which would explain why he's a little moist all the time. Moist.
Dive into the movie. So the first thing we see is the giant alien spacecraft landing on a California forest. So I know back in 1984 they had some practical effects, they had some cool light stuff. There was maybe some color separation overlay used, but I know in 2005 was it when they re-released it on home video, Spielberg went to his good buddy George Lucas and said, hey, you had a really good idea of like adding crap into this movie. I think I'm going to add in some digital effects to the spaceship.
You mean to clean up like the optical effects, No.
Yes.
Oh, you just that? They didn't go in and like put fucking walkie-talkies in people's hands?
Well, yeah, they did do that.
What did they put in the hands of the kids who all grabbed kitchen knives to kill E.T.? Did they put candy bars in their hands?
No, they kept the kitchen knives.
Yeah.
They kept the penis breath?
But a lot of the major things that was overhauled was the digital effects and making E.T. look a little more digital. But yeah, the big opening shot of the alien spaceship coming in and then landing in the forest, that was a big digital reimagining or redone effect. So
how did they fuck with E.T.? Did they make him blink like the Ewoks? Or
no? Evidently, there's like some facial expressions that they changed when Elliot sees him in the cornfield and he shines a light in his face. Like the original one was he just like had a surprise, but then like the digital version, they added teeth to E.T. Not sharp, pointy teeth like a rabbit.
No
but,
vampires.
No vampires. No.
Vlad the E.T.
No, and not the
Aliens.
Oh, what was it? Yeah, not like the aliens one. The little alien coming out of his mouth.
There's teeth coming out of teeth.
I was actually very lucky. My copy is actually, I think, one of the original DVD prints. So it's from 82. No touch up, no nothing on mine. And I studied it pretty hard while I was watching it. And actually, I think most of the effects just they hold up. I mean, it's a puppet, but it's not a bad puppet. I mean, and it's huge. I mean, when you think about it, you know, Steven Spielberg did Jaws 7 years prior to that. And the Jaws puppet, although the movie's good and the Jaws puppet's good, I think they were very disappointed with how it turned out. So they had to do a lot of camera trickery and special shots to make it work the way they wanted to. 7 years later, he's rocking it with E.T. I mean, the puppet looks good. The suit
the rubber suit that the midget wears,
that the two small people wear. And then there's actually a 12-year-old boy that was born with no legs.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So every time they had a scene where he fell over, that's actually a young 12-year-old boy in the suit that was born with no legs. That was what he did. So he was always the fall over kid, and then he could move around with his hands. And then they had, anytime the E.T. ran, they had two small people in there that would do the running and stuff. But I thought it looked really good on camera. I thought it was really well done.
That is so fucked up, Tim.
Just to clarify, Tim, when you said two small people in there, you mean at different times, right? There wasn't like one standing on top of the other.
Not Jabba the Hutt, dude.
Like a trench coat. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like two men in a horse costume arguing over who's going to be the ass and who's going to be the head.
I was thinking like two penguins, one standing on top of the other one with like a trench coat and a fedora, trying to pretend.
It's two different people doing it at two different times. And anytime that you see E.T. Where he doesn't move, it's an animatronic puppet that they're using, like in the closets when he's with the stuffed animals, things like that. So, but I thought it was really well done. And I don't know why I thought he needed to really go back and redo it. In fact, after having watched Ghostbusters for our last podcast, I thought the effects in this held up much better than some of the effects in Ghostbusters. I mean, some were awesome, again, as we spoke, but some were like the dogs when they're moving around just did not look good. And then going back.
I can't move on, Tim. So there's a 12-year-old
that was born with no legs.
Okay. So I'm all about giving amputees jobs, but that's amputee child labor.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of.
But it's 1982. No, that's fucked up in like 1902.
There's two other children in this series. I mean, there's Elliot himself and then the little girl. I mean, what's the difference? Why would you be prejudiced against this poor child that was born with no legs versus the other kids that are on there? I mean,
they cast him because he fit in a rubber suit that's probably like really not fun to.
And
holy shit!
He made money doing it.
Adult?
Yeah, he made money doing it, and he has a story to tell. Got to do something really cool. I don't know if he got to go on and do anything else, but I mean, like I don't.
So he rides around on a skateboard now. I'm seeing him as an adult in front of the Turner Classic Movies logo. Matthew Demerit.
I gotta imagine there was a huge boost for him.
He's still alive today. He attended the relaunch of E.T. E.T. was like the only movie that he was ever in. But yeah, you can see here he's an old man like us now.
Yeah.
And he has no legs, but he rides around on a skateboard and he's a fully functional human being in today's society.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not.
It's just messed up that he was 12. If there was an adult, I don't know. I'd have a different opinion on it because the guy's got to make money. So to our viewers that are not Googling that or whatever, if you've seen the movie Kids and the guy's jingling and jangling the can and he's riding on a skateboard saying, I have no legs. That is, I just saw the classier version of that on the red carpet of a man dressed very nicely with no legs and a very nice skateboard next to him.
There you go. And I want to bring it back around now that we're, done discussing this part of it, Joey, about the whole flashlight thing, since we brought that up, where they changed the guns and that's the scene where they're chasing the kids on the BMX bikes. and they get out to chase them down in that new construction area, and they all have pistols in their hands, and they swap those out to put flashlights in.
It was a shotgun.
The shotgun comes later, or it comes earlier or later when they all take off, and the shotgun's there as the kids launch off into the air. That's the only time you see a shotgun.
So they originally replaced it in an earlier scene too.
So they had all revolvers in their hands. Yeah, the kids steal the van, and they end up in that construction site. They meet up with the bikes, and now the cops are chasing them. When they think they have them cornered, the cops come running out. They all have like little revolvers in their hand. They edit those out, put flashlights in their hand, which is ridiculous to be carrying flashlights in the middle of the day. And I'm going to give Spielberg credit here, because this is what he said. He said, "I regret doing that." And here is his 2 quotes that I think everybody should say to such things. "No film should ever be revised based on the lenses that let me say it again. No films should be revised based on the lenses we now are either voluntarily or being forced to peer through. All our movies are a kind of signpost of where we were when we made them, what the world was like, and what the world was receiving when those stories got out there." So I thought that's pretty well stated. So he had a lot of regret doing it. I think he regrets mostly doing any kind of edits to them and stuff. And he thinks that you should just leave your movies alone and let them be once you've finished them. So I would give the guy props. Like he really came back around on that, and I think had a pretty terrific statement.
That's a great, eloquent way of saying it. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that all film is like a snapshot in time, and that we really shouldn't go back and try to erase it or modify it or change it, because I mean, then you take away the what's the word I'm looking for? Honesty of it.
Yeah.
The truth of what history was.
Well, and again, I think he's right. There are signposts of where we were at back then, and if you start messing with them, you're changing art. And not only that, but then people are going to forget, because those are things that this is where we were at that day and age. And we can compare that to where we're at today. If you start messing with that and erasing it, then you lose that knowledge, and people will forget. So I think it's good. But anyway, I just wanted to give Steven Spielberg props. I thought that was, that he came back out and said that, I thought was really huge.
Yeah. And not to correct you, but during the day scenes, it was actually walkie-talkies and not flashlights.
Okay, walkie-talkies. You're right. That's correct. So that makes more sense.
Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. It was walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
You hear that, Hollywood? We want our French Connection restored.
Damn.
Popeye Doyle says the N-word. It's part of who his awful character is.
Sorry, I thought made the French Connection. They replaced his service revolver with a walkie-talkie.
They did that too, Matt.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's just chasing around bad guys with walkie-talkies and flashlights. They just shine lights back and forth into each other's eyes, and and Popeye Doyle loves black people.
There's a whole version of the Untouchables where they're just carrying pool noodles.
That's correct.
That's the Chicago way. All right, so E.T. gets dropped off here on planet Earth. He doesn't make it back when these trucks show up to investigate what's going on, and we see, as you guys mentioned, Keys, the first introduction of one of our main antagonists in the movie, or we assume is an antagonist in the movie, with the guy running around with keys on his belt. Which again, I thought he was just like a lost janitor. Then E.T. manages to run away after this alien spacecraft takes off without him, so he's left behind. Not any tie into the, gosh, why can't I think of the author's name of those Left Behind series?
No, yeah, I don't know who that is. I know the movies you're talking about, but I've
okay,
yeah.
All right. So, not to be like Kirk Cameron in the movies Left Behind, but he was left behind. So then he takes off through the forest, trying to run away from these guys, and he comes across a cityscape, and we now learn that is Los Angeles. Or was it Los Angeles? Yeah, suburb of LA. And then we cut to a small house in California there, and we were introduced to this family. So what do you guys think of the characters that we first see here in this family group? We got Elliot, we got his brother Michael, obviously Michael's friends, and then his mom and daughter. Any thoughts on these characters?
Yeah, I mean, when you first introduced to them, they seem like a pretty standard family. You figure out very quickly that the dad's not in the picture. He's off in Mexico with his new girlfriend. So mother's very upset about that. Divorce is a big theme in this. And if I remember, I think Steven Spielberg's parents are divorced and had a pretty big impact on him. So that's a recurring theme in a lot of his movies. So you kind of get that whole dynamic that, the kids are a little broken up about it. The mom's obviously broken up. The kids are trying not to say things to her to upset her. Drew Barrymore's Gertie's cute as a button. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, cute as a button. I like that when you start off in this, you get to see the kids playing Dungeons and Dragons, which I thought was really cool, which harkens later on to Stranger Things, kind of imitating some of E.T. and tying those things together.
Stranger Things imitates a lot of things. I got to ask, did you notice there was Raid on the kitchen table where they were playing?
I did. I was
Dungeons and Dragons.
It's like, why is there a can of Raid on the table? But ants?
Is there a deleted scene where they have ants? I don't know.
But the thing that stuck out to me was seeing just all the cigarette smoke just kind of wafting around everywhere. And I'm like, where's the cigarette smoke coming from? I mean, are they cutting out scenes where these 13-year-old boys are sitting around the table smoking cigarettes?
Honey, it's because I had to sit under the table in case E.T. was going to appear so I could voice him. So it's really me underneath the table.
Was it just the smoke machine outside?
Yeah, no.
It was all one set. It was all one real set. There weren't different locations and smoke machines. Shit, we can't even clear this out. It's drifted into the room. We only get these kids for 4 hours a day. Shoot.
Joey, you may not be too off on that.
I don't know. There's a lot of things that don't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, because when he goes outside, you see that there's a lot of fog and smoke in the cornfield and stuff. So I can see that'll be in the same soundstage, and they just couldn't get it out.
I'm Googling it now about cornfields in Los Angeles.
Although I will say, the one thing I know about this movie is it was filmed sequentially. So as you watch it, is how it was filmed, unlike other movies where they break it apart because we have this person for so many days or we have this set and stuff. And he did that on purpose because he wants the kids in the movie to meet E.T. at the same time, go through their adventure with him at the same time. And when they say goodbye at the ending, they're really saying goodbye to E.T. So it kind of helped the kids act correctly. Plus it gave them that dynamic that this was really happening. So that a lot of the emotions was the same.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, I think it also helps as far as continuity too, because I mean, now you don't have to worry about, oh, hey, what does Elliot's hair look like in scene 1 as we're shooting? We already shot scene 10. Now we got to come back and shoot scene 1, kind of thing.
True.
Los Angeles Historic Park, also known as the Cornfield, but it's just a nickname, except for in 2005. The former industrial site was transformed into a productive cornfield for one season as an art project called Not a Cornfield. So there's no cornfields in the greater Los Angeles area. Also, when, you think an alien might have contaminants, you don't take off all your protective gear just because it died.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that when we get towards the end.
Yeah.
But
there's lots of things that don't make sense.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
Raid.
Well, I think
let's get some Raid in our D&D game.
Like I said, ants. Let's face it. You got a bunch of boys. They're sitting around a table. They're eating food all night and stuff. Ants. A lot of ants in California.
So yeah, just to jump, as we talked about for the cornfield scene, was I the only one that was thinking of when we covered North by Northwest about how there's actually corn shown properly in a movie instead of just a single row of it being crop dusted.
Well, I usually only crop dust a single row of people. As gassy as I am, I don't have enough to do an entire audience.
There you go.
But I can take care of a row.
Nice.
Okay. And I have.
All right. So
most times I go to the theater and there's pre-COVID when there were actually an audience.
That's why everybody had to wear masks. It wasn't
Excuse
COVID.
me.
It was just Joey's
Excuse me.
drive-by dusting. So what were you thinking about the family, Matt? I mean, going back to your original question.
So right off the bat, I can't help but notice how annoying Elliot is as a middle kid. Because I mean, just you see his brother and everybody interacting playing the game, and like all of a sudden he just kind of chimes in real quick. I'm ready to play the game. Can I play the game? Can I play the game? I'm like, yeah. He's kind of channeling the younger brother role, but I think they did it was a little too annoying for me right off the bat.
Oh, I don't think so. I think that was spot on. I mean, if you've ever been around,
I was that kid with the older brother and his friends around.
Joey's still that kid today. But like if you're the little kid and the only one at the house, and your older sibling has all their kids there, and you want to do what the big kids are doing, and sometimes they're cool about letting you do it, and sometimes they're complete
usually they're not
wagons about it. So yeah, I mean, and so for them, they're like, well, you got to go down and get the pizza, and then we'll let you play. It's just okay, and he runs down there. I mean, that's the dynamic. I think that's as real a dynamic as I've ever seen in a movie. I thought it really hit the nail on the head.
We'll never find out if they were really going to let him play.
Yes, we'll never.
My guess
we'll never.
Is, we're done now.
We'll never see.
It's pizza time. We're done. Then we're all going to go home.
We'll never get to see Elliot's mad wizard skills.
Right. He has this crazy ranger that kicks everybody's butt. Gets all the treasure.
He's the beast master. He tames creatures.
There we
go. These guys have totally lost me, by the way, just for posterity.
So Elliot runs out and gets picks up the pizza from the delivery guy, and then of course he gets distracted, and he investigates something that distracts him over in the back of the house, and this is the part that makes my heart saddest, because Elliot drops the pizza.
Not the dying alien later on. It's the pizza that you're mourning in this.
The pizza. Okay. If I take anything from this movie, is that don't send a little kid to get pizza, because not only does he drop the pizza, but when he's scared, he turns around and he steps on the pizza on the way to get his big brother and his friends to help find what the problem is.
For the record, he almost dropped it walking up the fucking driveway.
That is true, because he's balancing it on his baseball mitt.
If you live next to a cornfield or woods, and I lived next to both as a kid, you're going to hear all kinds of critters and shit. And if you got a whole goddamn pizza, you don't go and investigate it with the pizza in your hands. You go put that shit in the house and go get an adult and say, I'm scared. Can we just eat pizza now?
Dude.
But anyways, there wouldn't have been a movie.
I live next to cornfields now. And sometimes when I hear stuff rummaging around out there, I'm not going to investigate and going back in the house like it'll either be there in the morning or it'll be gone. It's just I'm not going out into the corn. Nothing good's coming from that.
Dear, I'm scared. I'm thinking about going outside to investigate something. But would you just hold me for a minute?
No, I live next to a cornfield. If my wife hears something outside, which usually sounds like a coyote or a dog, first thing she says to me is, "Can you go investigate?" And I'm thinking, I don't want to go outside.
I wish I had that situation, Matt. Real thing that happened the other night. It sounded like 2 knocks. I thought it came from like the corner of the house. My wife thought it came from the front door. I thought maybe later it came from the back door or something like that. And I ignore it. And about 10 minutes later, she just gets up and goes outside and looks around. And I go, was there anything out there? She's like, well, there was a guy. I'm like, there was a guy? She's like, no, it wasn't that kind of a guy. It was just a guy walking. I don't think it was the guy knocked on our door. And I go, okay, what were you going to do if there was somebody out there creeping around? And she just pauses and doesn't say anything. And I'm like, exactly. You didn't even fucking tell me you were doing it. You just got up and did it. Don't do that. Don't do that ever again.
All right. So where were we?
Talking about the cornfield.
Yes, the cornfield. All right. So Elliot gets freaked out after seeing that. So he drops the pizza, and then he tosses a ball into this shed, and the ball comes back to him. At which point, I probably would have turned around, grabbed the pizza, and ran back in the house.
Dude, that's the point where I just
He
load my pants.
underhanded it.
That's where I defecate in my pants and run inside with them sagging down like, there's something out in the shed. Everybody's like, oh, what's that smell? Oh, yeah, because that's not going to go good. There's no way.
You would have shit your long johns. Now, why was he, number one, why was he wearing long johns? It's not cold in California. Ever.
And socks.
But-
and socks all the time. Never has
And
shoes
socks,
on.
And
Yeah.
socks. What's with him underhanding that softball or baseball or whatever in there? Like, was he gonna play catch with the boogeyman? I thought if he really thought there was something scary in there, like a coyote, wouldn't you thrown a fast pitch in there to like fuck it up?
Well,
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, he should have E.T. should have stitch marks on his head, and he kind of looks like he has stitch marks on his head, those wrinkles. But yeah, he should have had a knot on his head. The kid's like, I'll toss him a ball.
yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know.
not only does he do that, but then he goes back out later at night and sits in that chair in front of it and just sits and waits. Dude, that kid's got a pair of stones in him like nobody's business. I won't go sit in the lawn chair in my backyard, and I've lit up like a stadium out there. If I think there's something weird rummaging around out in that cornfield, no, forget it. I couldn't believe that kid's like, I'm going to sit here in this chair.
So if E.T. was a real life situation and it was a coyote, Elliot would have been eaten by a pack of coyotes.
I would say so, because every time I've had to deal with coyotes coming out of the cornfield, it's not a coyote, it's a many coyotes.
Well, I didn't think coyotes were pack animals. I thought they were more solitary.
Now they will get together and hunt.
They yip
okay.
together.
Yeah.
I've heard them many times. You don't hear one coyote, you hear a lot of coyotes. And I don't know why, but they tend to yip
Mhm.
during the rain.
I will
At
admit
dusk.
that I have heard yipping out in my backyard, or at least in the area.
But luckily for Elliot, it wasn't a yipping coyote, snarling coyote. It wasn't Tom Cruise from Collateral. It was purring E.T. Yes, he purrs. If you have the closed captioning on, E.T. purrs. Maybe he was a cat.
Well, that's how the cats disarm you before they bite you.
Oh, evil space cats.
Well, so
This is a hairless space cat with no ears.
So- so before Elliot runs out or hangs out in the backyard to catch a glimpse at whatever's hanging out in the shed, he runs back in the house and he tells his older brother, his mom, about what's going on, and that's where we get introduced to his mom, who's played by Dee Wallace.
Kind of a scream queen.
Yeah. As I said, I remember seeing her in playing the mom in Cujo, and wasn't she a mom in The Howling?
She's in The Howling, I think. She's in one of the later Halloween sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in a lot of movies in the late 70s and 80s.
Almost exclusively horror films, I think,
Yeah.
because I looked her up, just kind of look at her IMDb, and I was like, wow, the first thing I said, Scream Queen, because she's in a ton of horror films after this.
So I can't help but feel bad about her kids, because like, our mom's been in lots of horror movies. We're not going to survive this movie.
Yeah, we're doomed.
She's still doing a lot of low budget and medium budget horror films, because I think that's why she's making her retirement money. She's not making big paychecks from big movies. She's got big roles in small, tiny little movies, and real tiny, small roles in bigger movies.
Well, she's got to do all this because it's the 1980s, and being a single mom at this time is some tough shit, man.
Yeah, she did those in the 2000s. Critters Attack in 2019. Remember that Critters movie? No, you don't.
No,
you do not remember that.
Well, what I love about this movie too with the mom, this is my favorite moment with her. This defines the 80s latchkey kid. When she gets the call from the school And they tell her that Elliot's drunk. She's like, sure, it's my kid. Like, yeah. She's like, okay, Gertie, you stay right here. Just watch TV. Don't move. And she gets in the car, drives away to go pick up Elliot. Like, that would not even happen today at all. I mean,
No.
it does, but only
She had no reason not to bring her.
But I'm like, yeah, that's typical. Like, I can remember, you stay right here. We'll be back. And they would, somebody would go run. So yeah, that was that generation. Like, they still did stuff like that. And, that's, days gone by now.
Since she's been in a lot of stuff, though, you ever notice, and I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent here about Steven Spielberg, but you ever notice that a lot of Steven Spielberg's movies, especially from the 80s, they all have like that particular film glow to everything. Like, and I don't know if it's because I watched the digital re-edited version, but it just seems like watching a Steven Spielberg movie, it just, there's like this certain kind of like glow or quality to the film that always just kind of makes it feel a little more professional, a little more, out there, something that's like kind of long lasting kind of feel.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's Steven Spielberg. I mean, by the time he's doing, E.T., he's ensconced. Like, this is the it dude. I mean, he just come off of making Jaws, Close Encounters, 1941, which is a lesser known
Raiders
film,
of the
Lost Ark. So, he's drawing the A list of talent. Like, when he wants to get a cinematographer, he's, the 10 guys that show up at his door are the 10 best guys in Hollywood because they want to work with him. And he's got a good eye. I mean, let's face it. You don't make this many movies that are this good without having a good eye. He really understands, I think, visually what he's looking for. He understands what a movie needs, and he understands the proper actors to get, I mean, he's really locked into his craft. I mean, he's at the top of his game even to this day. I mean, he just keeps making magic.
He had the people top of their game working for him
too.
He had clout.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his fault that the E.T. video game sucked, because it's like, well, this is Steven Spielberg. You got to hurry up and get this done for Christmas.
Right.
And so one man had 2 weeks to make a video game.
It was 5 weeks.
Which is quote unquote 5 weeks. I'm sorry. The quote worst video game of all time. Probably not. There's worse. But it got the reputation because it, today we have found the ETs in the landfill. It was not just
a rumor,
an urban legend. They made more games than there were systems because they thought this is going to drive sales to the point with this video game that we're going to have to build more systems. And so there is in the desert a landfill that's been dug up and had ET along with other Atari products in the ground because they wrote it off for insurance. And it's partly Steven Spielberg's fault.
Yeah.
He didn't understand. You gotta takes time to make a good video game, just like it takes time to make a good movie. I don't
think he had much say in that, but okay, I'm going to let you have it. But
it's all his fault.
Okay, we'll blame Steven. I mean, great movies, crappy video game developer. There we go. But I think that
no. He caused the sense of urgency.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
but
he didn't make the fucking game.
But going back,
it was one guy.
Going back to what Matt's saying, though, I think that's Matt. That's why these movies pop. I think it's just because he is drawing in the best of the best all the time.
Gotcha.
And one thing I'd like to say before we get away from the house here, because we're talking about I'm going to bring it up now just so I don't forget. So, do you realize that house has appeared in another film?
It doesn't surprise me. Is it? It's not the Lethal Weapon house on stilts. No.
Matt, would you like to make one guess? Joe, you got yours. Matt gets one guess.
Let me think.
Oh shit, that was my guess.
Yep, that's your one guess. So you can't say anything else now.
I want to say something like the TV show Amazing Stories. I think it makes an appearance.
Nope. Actually, Drew Barrymore filmed the E.T. house 18 years later when she was making Charlie's Angels. When she runs up to the glass door, and I think she's naked, and she's tapping on that glass to those kids, and they look out the window. Okay. That's the house. That's her revisiting a house, and there's an E.T. poster on the back wall. So,
nice.
Yeah, so that was her little kind of her little nod to, kind of her career starter in the Charlie's Angels film. So I thought that was pretty.
Was it just like they scouted locations and like, hey, that's where we're going to shoot it, and then the props department said, hey, let's throw a little Easter egg in there?
I don't have all the information, and I just,
because if it's just planned, that's fucked up.
I think she, I think she wanted to pay homage to like kind of her early acting days. Is like, let's put this in the movie just for fun. I mean, because she drove that whole Charlie's Angels franchise. That was her baby, so she probably had a lot to say. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, here, let's just throw this in as an Easter egg and see who picks up on it. Kind of neat. But anyway, Matt, let's get back to we can get back to like him, sitting out there waiting for the alien, coming out purring from the shed there.
Right. Yeah. He hangs out there. Now, I'm suddenly drawing a blank. Did he put the Reese's Pieces out there first?
No, those come later when he tries to, when E.T. freaks out finally. Oh, no, he does. You're right. He did put them out first.
He's leaving a trail outside.
Because he went out, remember the next day, he went out looking for him in the forest, and he was leaving Reese's Pieces everywhere. And then that night, he lays waiting for him to come back, and as E.T. kind of keeps doing that little scary shuffle, which again would have caused me to defecate my pants, and he's like, Dad, Mom, and the brother's name. What's the brother's name again? Michael. Thinking, Michael. And then E.T. drops all the Reese's Pieces onto his chair, which I think takes a moment. We should talk about that too. Can you believe that M&M's passed on this?
I know. I'm at that point. Every time I watch E.T., I want a bag of Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. I mean, it tripled their sales overnight on Reese's Pieces. It wasn't even a household name. Can you imagine the next day being the guy that turned that down, showing up at Mars and Bob to the CEO's office. Bob to the CEO's office. Boss, you wanted to see me? Yeah. Come on in. No need to sit. This is only going to take a moment. Bob, what does this look like? Well, that's an ad for the new E.T. movie. And here's a picture from the movie. What's in there? Well, it looks like candy. Yes, it is candy. What specific candy is it? Is it our candy? No, those would be Reese's Pieces. Yes, they're Reese's Pieces. You've killed the Mars Empire, son. You've killed the Mars Empire. We're going to have two very pissed off M&Ms coming in here because they're going to be out of a job. I'm going to make either that yellow one come live with you and he's dumb as a box of rocks, and then the red one's going to come. And he ain't red because he's friendly. He's red because he's going to beat your ass because you put him out of a job. I hope you're happy, and maybe we're going to even send the green one over and she can just emasculate you. I hope you're happy. You've killed the Mars franchise. Get out of my face. I mean, that's how I see that going. Just I just can't. I would not have want to be the guy that decided to turn that down because they were afraid the aliens might scare kids too much in one of the M&Ms.
3 years after E.T., Reese's thought they needed to update the alien or use a different alien, probably because they didn't have the rights to E.T. And do you recognize this blue weird ass short alien? It's another little person alien.
No,
eating Reese's Pieces.
I do not.
You don't recognize that?
Is that the one from
like comic book ads?
Is that Mac and Me?
No, they made it specifically for Reese's Pieces commercials and ads.
No, I don't remember. I was almost going to say, is that the alien from Mac and Me? Because I think that was kind of the E.T. Copycat movie that they tried to make years later.
By the way, they really fucked up. This should have been Skittles, because at the end, that spaceship tastes the rainbow.
Yeah, but
no, there's no but. It should have been fucking Skittles.
Sorry, but Reese's Pieces are phenomenal. Okay, Reese's Pieces,
they are good.
Is the only candy.
They're not rainbow candy,
but it gets the right ratio of peanut butter to chocolate every time, no matter what shape they take. Like if you buy the Easter egg size ones, perfect ratio. You get the little the little Reese's
peanut butter cups,
regular size ones, perfect ratios. The little all right, so they're not pieces, but the Reese's peanut butter cup eggs, perfect ratio. Reese's are geniuses when it comes to peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah, but the Reese's Pieces don't have hardly any chocolate in it. It's the one candy that does fail in that area.
No. Tim's wrong too. Guys, listen. It's a non-gender specific alien, and it leaves rainbows in its trail with its spaceship. It's fucking Skittles.
You're 40 years too late with that to come up with that. Okay, like
I want to recognize E.T. You are seen.
sir, I again, let's not put today's lens on a 40-year-old movie. Okay, so just knock it off.
Thought that was literally all right.
All right, so so Elliot manages to get ET back in the house, and in his house by leading a trail of Reese's pieces.
Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Dude, you took it right out of my mouth, man. I was just saying, does anyone else think of James Woods from Family Guy?
A piece of candy.
That's exactly where they got it from.
Yeah. All he needed was a big cardboard box
with a stick and a string.
Yeah. So he manages to smuggle ET into the house, and he hides him out in probably the world's largest walk-in kids closet.
I thought that too when I looked at it, but I gave it some slack once I realized it was a connected shared closet between the two rooms. So there was a door on each end, because remember ET's listening to Mary and Gertie sit and read that story, and he lifts up the little louvers so he can look out and listen to it, because he's in the closet at that point. So that means when you open up the closet, one side was technically Elliot's, the other side was technically Gertie. So it was like two closets with a little pathway between.
Okay.
I rented a house like that. It was interesting.
I thought it was.
You get to hear things in the next bedroom that you don't want to hear.
Right. Well, and who puts the louvers on a closet door? Louvers that you can move up and down to see out of. That I thought that was a bit odd.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen louvers on closet doors that don't move, just because for airflow. But yeah, I don't think I've seen ones that actually move.
Yeah,
but
I liked it when he came out of the closet and he was wearing the dress up outfit with the hair, and Elliot was being homophobic.
Do you realize that that's the same dress outfit that they dress Eleven in Stranger Things later on?
No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they put her in that same color combination of hat and like dress.
And
she had a wig.
She had a wig.
There was a couple episodes where she had a wig in the first season, right?
Yeah.
When she was bald headed.
Yes. Yeah, they put her in a blonde wig so she wouldn't stand out when they took her to school.
I think what I enjoyed even more though is just kind of the getting to see his room.
Yes.
Yeah. That was my room for sure when I was a kid. How about yours? I mean, it reminded me a lot of my boyhood bedroom.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we had action figures everywhere. We had some G.I. Joe figures. We had the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures.
Oh,
and
yes.
I mean, what else than to tie this into Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars with all the action figures? And is this where Hammerhead gets his name?
No, Hammerhead, that's actually his name throughout the whole, I think it actually came out in the card, said Hammerhead when I was a kid. So when you buy it. But what I thought was interesting is I got to the point I got so caught up in it was like spot the Star Wars toy. So I seen the Death Star or the Star Destroyer toy in the background. There was a TIE fighter on on his dresser. And then when he goes through the figures, he's like, look, this is Hammerhead, and this is Snaggletooth, and this is Walrus Man, and he kind of goes through all those characters. It's Boba Fett and Lando, and I'm like, okay, so far the kid's got every creature that's tried to kill Han Solo, but not an actual Han Solo in it. And I was even more geeked out because here's where I get really geeky. Those 4 figures, it was the blue Snaggletooth figure, which was an error by Kenner because they sent out just a head, like a waist headshot of Snaggletooth and made the character. So they gave him really long legs and made him blue when Snaggletooth had really short legs. So later on, when they put him on a card, he was red with short legs. But that blue one came in a Sears exclusive playset with those other 3 figures. So there you go. There's your little toy nostalgia for you. That's my uber geekiness of Star Wars world. Joey, I know that just about killed you. You're welcome.
I didn't notice any of that. I only noticed the Incredible Hulk light switch cover and the Incredible Hulk poster, and that's all I wanted from his room.
Well, did you guys catch the Jaws cameo?
No, missed that. Oh yeah,
So,
go ahead, yeah.
All right, so he shows E.T. his fish bowl, and then he grabs a little shark thing and goes into the fish tank.
Oh, Okay.
Well, he's like, these are the fish.
I don't think that was officially licensed.
Yeah, he's like, this is fish, and you feed him fish food, and then the shark eats the fish, and nothing eats the shark. You know, it was like he's kind of giving a little, a little lesson there. And then I looked in that fish tank, and I'm like, oh my god, there must be like 15 fantails in there. They got about 30 seconds worth of oxygen. And they're all going to be floating upside down because it's just that little bowl. And I'm like, there's no way all those fish are living in that bowl for very long. So.
No animals were harmed during the production of this film.
Let's hope.
There was another thing that I thought was kind of neat. And again, this might have to do a lot with the practical effects, but just the way that E.T. walked through the house, I thought was kind of neat. It looked kind of alienish, but then it also had, some distinct, human movement to it. And I think that's really neat. Again, I think that goes back to the whole practical effects stuff, how even today they still hold up. There's a few scenes in the 2005 cut where, you see E.T.'s practical effect walking with the puppet suit, but then later on when he's in the room and he lifts his neck up, his neck actually extends a little further in the digital cut and his head looks a little digital. So that kind of standed out a little bit different for me. But yeah, I definitely think that the practical effects of it all still holds up, especially in that whole scene in his bedroom when he's going through all of the toys and stuff.
Actually, they missed out. If they'd only put out E.T. 4 years later, they could have stole the whole Bears Super Bowl shuffle and done the E.T. shuffle. Because I love that little shuffle he does. They could have done the whole song behind him, had the E.T. shuffle. They could have tied that all in. That would have been awesome. But I agree.
For those of you living outside of the state of Illinois, please Google the 1985 Bears Super Bowl Shuffle.
There you go.
You're welcome.
There you go. But I enjoyed him moving around too, and when he's like exploring the house on his own. I could watch like 2 hours of him just doing that. I thought it was fantastic. Like, let's just make that the sequel. Like, E.T. explores the house, for a day. That's the sequel. Just him drinking beers and eating food and throwing it around. That dog just following him, like, kind of got the cocked head, trying to figure out what he's doing and stuff. Watching TV. I love when he turns on the Tom and Jerry and he starts laughing at it when, the cat explodes. He's like, ah. It was like, yeah. I just enjoyed that. I could watch that for hours.
Hey, didn't you want to review The Quiet Man, Tim? That's the closest we're going to get to it, I think.
I'm not sure how you're tying those two together, Joey.
It's in the movie. Like, that's why he has Elliot kiss the girl, because he sees John Wayne kissing somebody in the...
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I got it. Yeah.
When he's sitting there and he's drinking the beers and he's watching TV, the movie he's watching is The Quiet Man.
That's right. I forgot. That was The Quiet Man. Okay. I'm caught up now, Joey. That eluded me.
Now I'm gonna back up a little bit, Tim, because you had mentioned E.T. too. So I don't know if it's because I recently watched E.T. and it's like in my Google feed now, but I guess like a couple months ago, Steven Spielberg was talking about possibly releasing E.T. 2 or making an E.T. 2. I couldn't find any solid news articles about it, but I think Collider had a story about a possibility of E.T. 2 coming out. And oddly enough, Drew Barrymore right off the bat said no, she would not come back and do it.
They had a 7 or 9 page treatment almost immediately after E.T. talking about maybe possibly making a second one. And then they decided, like, look, we shouldn't mess with this. We should just let this be a standalone movie. And I'd be sad if Spielberg decides to come back to the well on that one. That was the best decision he ever made. It's a great movie all by itself. It doesn't need a sequel. You're not gonna get that gold twice. I just don't think he's gonna get it. He's gonna end up with his Temple of Doom. It's gonna be the E.T. the Temple of Doom. It's just gonna be the one that like he'll have to go make the E.T.'s last crusade to make up for it afterwards, kind of thing, I guess. But yeah, I think it was a good decision.
And hopefully not. Hopefully not E.T. and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Right? Yeah. Oh God, please no. But one good thing, or I shouldn't say, just one interesting thing did come out of that treatment though. We find out E.T.'s real name. And his real name is Zrek. Z-R-E-K. Zrek.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, E.T.'s not invincible, and they found that out because the video game was such a damn bomb. So I'm blaming, again, I'm bringing it back to the video game. Howard Scott Warshaw, it's not your fault, but you did. I'm going to thank you, Howard Scott Warshaw. You prevented E.T. 2. which would have sucked. By the way, did you know the name of the young lady, the little blonde girl who's not so little, she's tall, that Elliot kissed?
Yes, I do.
Erica Eleniak. I probably said it wrong. She's got big tits. She's in Baywatch, and she took her top off in Under Siege.
Wait. Are you talking about Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood's very own Erica Alanka?
Oh, that's how you say it? What did I say?
I have no idea how you said it, but you know what?
Erica Eleniak.
I've heard it both ways.
I just like that.
It's spelled Elenik.
I just know that she appeared on an episode of the Dennis Miller TV show shortly after. Remember his late night skit for a while there?
She would have been young to be on that shitty show.
Well, she was actually in Tales from Crypt, Bordello of Blood with Dennis Miller, and then he had her on.
That was before the talk show?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And then because his talk show was like mid 90s.
Well, I'm going to keep it pure,
90s.
and I'm just always going to refer to her as the pretty girl, because that's
Okay.
what they call her in the actual credits. She's just the pretty girl, which I thought was interesting. That whole scene too. That actually harkens back to Steven Spielberg's childhood as well. He was appalled at the idea of having to dissect a frog, and so he actually released frogs as well, and so he put that into the movie. Kind of out of his own childhood, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, I do know.
Okay, if she was going to be on the David Miller show, she would have been 23 by then. She was born in 69 and it came out in 92. Anyhow, go ahead. Frogs, yes. They were killing frogs, and I don't know any 10-year-old who's asphyxiating frogs in class.
No, mine was in a formaldehyde
Yeah.
jar.
Mine too. I was to say, I remember in 7th grade dissecting a frog in science class, but it wasn't a formaldehyde jar. It came in a plastic bag, like a vacuum sealed bag. Now, when we did the fetal pigs, those were in jars.
No, I didn't do the fetal pig.
Yeah, who cornered the market on providing dead pigs and frogs? Oh, wait, it's those guys from Return of the Living Dead. That was like their whole business model was selling cadavers of people and animals.
Probably those guys from the swamp people on the History Channel that do the gators are just doing the frogs as a side gig. They're gigging frogs. But, and interesting enough to that scene, that's
the frog
there
mill.
you go. That's where Harrison Ford hits the editing room floor. So he had a cameo in E.T. and he was supposed to be the high school principal, and they cut him. So not only did he not get his action figure shown, but they actually cut. Maybe he's like, if you ain't showing my action figure, I'm out. Just put me on the editing room floor. I'm done. And they're like, whatever, you're out of here. We'll see if Lando's available.
But come back in a couple years for an Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Or maybe even just next year.
There's a Star Wars cameo you guys still haven't talked about.
We're working our way towards it.
Oh,
we're getting there.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
In fact, I was actually going to segue to that here in a couple minutes.
Probably the second best part of the movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just address the
alien in the
kid's costume in
the alien in the room.
So they take E.T. trick or treating, and the first thing he sees is a Yoda. And I have to ask, is this truly tying into the whole Star Wars theory? Aluminum hats on, that E.T. recognized Yoda, and he knew that he was someplace safe, and that Yoda could have saved him and sent him home.
For sure. And I'll tell you why. Because E.T. is supposed to be like 1,000 years old. So he's a very old alien. And the ETs show up in the Senate floor in the Phantom Menace. They're actually in one of the little pods when they go by and they're all cheering on. There's 3 little ETs and they're the representatives, the senators in the Senate. So I think when ET sees the Yoda, he recognizes him. He's like, "Oh, home." He's like, "Look, I can hitch a ride. Just let me go talk to this guy, like right here. Like I'm out of here. This is good, So yes, I think that ties the 2 universes together. So
did they show up again in Revenge of the Sith in the same?
I don't believe so. I think it's only in the Phantom Menace.
My favorite part of the movie was Drew Barrymore telling Mom about the alien, and then it got hit by the refrigerator door. She goes, "Oh, well, you already killed
You might have
him."
already killed. That was great. That was a great line.
That was my favorite part.
And what a typical thing, like, Mom, I want you to meet somebody. Mom, okay, just a minute, honey. Mom. And he's just going back and forth. They're doing that whole thing where she just keeps turning around and missing him the whole time. And you're just like, come on, he's right there. How can you not see this little thing moving? It was just, it was truly a treat to watch that scene. I really enjoyed it.
She had to have known that she hit something with the door. Did she think that she hit her daughter with the door, the fridge
or the dog?
door?
I mean, you got a big dog like that, they're always, sniffing around for food. So the chances you whacking him in the head, there's a good chance you're whacking him in the head with the fridge once in your life, if not a dozen times.
Always underfoot. Yeah.
She's not the best mom. So, but I still think Dad's probably a douchebag.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that.
But she's not the best single mom.
But she's your atypical 80s mom. She's trying to
by a man
work. She's trying to raise 3 kids. She's working to make ends meet. Her deadbeat separated husband ran off to Mexico with probably some secretary that was like half her age. My heart goes out to Dee Wallace. She was doing the best she could.
I don't think she's doing too bad because that's a pretty big house they're living in, and I think she's driving an Audi, if I remember right. It was expensive car, so I think she's doing all right for herself.
She got the women always get the house.
Well, this is true,
and they get their choice of the car.
That could be. So you're probably right on that one, and I think. I mean, you get the feeling as soon as like, oh, Dad's in Mexico. He doesn't even like Mexico. Like, this is a pretty fresh wound. This has been really recent. So I think, in that case, you're going to give the mom a little, you can give her a little leeway there because, she's dealing with losing her, her husband obviously leaving her for another woman, but she's a good mom too, because she's taking time to spend with the kids. She's sitting in the bed with Gertie reading her the story and stuff. So she's putting the right time in. Like the only time that was questionable for me was stay right here. I'll be right back and go pick up your brother. But again, that was not out of place in the 80s. I mean, I'm going to be honest. It just wasn't.
We were watching it in 4K on Amazon, and my wife thought that her pink nightgown was sort of see-through and that was inappropriate around those teenage boys playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Dude.
And then later she's dressed like a skanky cat.
Dude, your mom is hot.
Shut up, Ted.
Remember when I asked her to prom?
Shut up, Ted. Yeah.
Not the best mom.
That was
probably a fun wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I think even he
not fun enough for that.
Even E.T. seen her, he's like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he made noses.
Yeah, I got a little reaction out of
E.T. They couldn't see what he was doing under that sheet.
Phone home.
His head didn't pop up though, so that would have been a good moment. He got the head erection, and then the sheet goes up, and then she's like, "That's not Gertie. That's like some deformed penis monster's body." I don't know. And it was so weird that he had these tiny little feet and he's got these huge long ass arms. I don't know.
That's because he's part tree.
Bothersome.
He's a plant alien. He's part tree.
Okay.
We've kind of been all around the place with the story. So I'm not exactly sure. I mean, we're trick or treating. We're talking about Dee Wallace. So I think we're kind of moved along around the part where Elliot takes E.T. to the forest. But he gets the idea of phoning home from watching TV
and
a comic book,
a Buck Rogers comic strip.
Yeah,
for sure.
So then Elliot and Michael like gather up all the stuff for E.T. to build a transmitter, and I just think it's kind of clever that they were able to MacGyver something before MacGyver was around.
I was literally thinking that. I was like, which came out first, this or MacGyver?
Yeah, because I mean, he uses now. Okay, so we already know that Reese's got probably a lot of money from this, but what about Speak and Spell?
It was a good advertisement.
Yeah, I remember my cousins having a Speak and Spell, and I thought that was the neatest thing ever. And now here it is. It's in E.T. and everybody suddenly bought a Speak and Spell.
Yeah, it was the second best cameo of Speak and Spell in movie history.
but I couldn't help.
You're not going to ask what the first one is?
I'm afraid to ask. What was the first one?
It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Of course it is. I am going to kill you now.
No, I think it was showing him a picture of a person, and he kept typing food, FOOD, and it was like, incorrect.
Well, I would say at the same time, I also remember another like early learning toy, and it was a giant wheel, and it had pictures on it, and it had a little arrow pointing to it, and you pull the string, and the arrow would spin around and land on like the cow, and the cow says moo.
Murr.
I wonder how crazy it would have been had he used that instead of the speak and spell.
I think the speak and spell was a better way. It gave it a little bit of technology, because really, in place of that toy you're talking about, which I think is a CNC,
Yes.
he uses a table saw blade, which I thought was interesting because he puts little divots and stuff in it and kind of turns it into a very early record.
Yeah.
You know, it's like speak and spell, a very early record. It's got an umbrella. This is like, yeah, part MacGyver, part like, with Inspector Gadget. Like, just some weird stuff going on there, so.
I thought he was going to turn the saw blade into like a satellite dish.
That's what they use the umbrella for.
Yeah, the umbrella was a satellite dish.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was clever that they were able to like tie it to a branch, and then as the wind blew, it caused it to make the record player turn.
Yeah, but they're just sitting there looking at that thing. And now I'm going to turn into Joey. They're just sitting there looking at that thing, waiting for the wind to go. And I'm like, just grab the string and pull it back and forth, guy. They do the same thing. Like, you don't really need the wind. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if all you need is the branch to go back and forth to be able to move the saw blade with the tooth so that I can, send its little message out. Like, you could just do that manually. Just sit there all night. Like, ting, 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 So I'm going to be Joey on that one. And that didn't make a lot of sense for me. Just like all the gadgets that you're watching, like, at the scene that you're talking about too, is when you got the government guys that are outside spying on everybody with that super cool, awesome digital van they have with a bunch of flip switches and light bulbs in it and stuff. And they're, it's just like, those guys are kind of creepy and weird. And some of the tools they're wandering around with, I'm like, it's just like a bunch of metal detectors they got with them or something. I don't know what they're doing.
Right.
I want to address the elephant boy in the room, because it could have been a sick pervert or a deformed kid out in the shed. What about the fact that they just left his ass? I know that E.T. wandered off too far, but like, what kind of assholes left him there in the first place?
The type that didn't want to get caught by the government.
Yeah, because
they were all converging in on that ship. So
some people say that E.T. is kind of a kid character, even if he's an old kid. And other people say like, oh, he kind of like stands in as a father figure for Elliot because his dad's not there. And I'm like, well, which is it? Is E.T. old? Is E.T. young? He's obviously got a fun, young, adventurous kid spirit. Or is he special? Is he the special alien? They're like, oh, dumbass wandered off too far from the ship. We're going to have to cut him loose and go, man.
Well, speaking about getting left behind, so after Elliot and E.T. put up this call device, Elliot stays in the woods overnight, and then suddenly E.T.'s just gone, disappeared. And so he like goes home. Now, mind you, his mom can't find him. So the first thing she does is call the cops, which is a responsible thing to do. But this is also like the 1980s. And I believe there's like, you have to be gone for like a 24-hour period, or am I wrong on that?
I think it's 48. I think they have to be gone 48 before they leave.
If you're an adult, if you're a kid, I don't know about Los Angeles. They got like millions of people there. But if you're a kid, I think the cops and you're missing, the cops are going to have a faster reaction than like, oh, you're practically an adult, or you're an adult child is missing, quote unquote missing. I think there's a different reaction.
Okay. We cut back to the house, and mom's going stir crazy. The kids aren't willing to tell what's going on, and suddenly Elliot shows up. Looks like he was on a bender.
Yeah, he looks rough. I mean, at that point, you definitely know that the two of them imprinted on each other. So when do you feel like that happened? Like, I'm pretty sure I know the exact moment they kind of imprint on each other, but I'm interested to see your take on it.
I think the imprint had happened before he was drinking the beer, because they shared a psychic bond. So
he got scared in the closet or something, and Elliot freaked out downstairs. And at first I thought he was freaking out because he heard him upstairs freak out. But no, he was any intense emotion that E.T. has, Elliot has. E.T. gets sick, Elliot gets sick.
yeah,
I think the moment they're in the bedroom together and he's showing E.T. all his toys, I think that's the moment they imprint on each other. There's that moment where they just kind of stop and look at each other. And I think there's like that bond that happens when they're kind of standing there, because that's the point where you see all of a sudden both of them both looking very tired.
right.
You know, so I think that's the moment where they bonded. And I forgot it was that early in the movie that happens. But
That's a good point. But more importantly, he never asked Dee Wallace to sign that parent permission slip to bond with her son. E.T. is a pedophile. Violated that boy. Violated his mind, and therefore he violated his body. Because your mind is part of your body.
I'm not sure a plant can do that, Joey, but
Yeah.
okay.
I beg to differ. I don't want to go into details about the plant, what kind of plant, where the plant was going. I will point to a picture of the plant. See those petals right there?
He
Those tickled me where they shouldn't tickle me.
Show me where the plant did mitosis on you.
that pollen got into his lungs.
We were snorting lines of pollen together. One thing led to another, but I wasn't old enough to consent.
And then, of course, E.T. loses all his pollen, and now he's laying he's laying not in a van down by the river, but he's laying down by the river, looking like completely emaciated.
Oh, that was rough.
Yeah.
That's a rough scene. And the damn raccoon. That damn raccoon's over like, I'm going to have me a meal tonight.
Was that a trained raccoon, or do you think that just kind of like wandered into the scene and Spielberg's like, shoot, shoot, shoot?
Nah, I'm pretty sure it's a trained raccoon. After my wolf incident from Collateral, I can't take a stance on animals anymore.
There are no accidents when it comes to Spielberg.
True.
All part of the plan.
Well, there's some accidents in Jaws that made it phenomenal, but
Always just goofing with the kid.
I just remember seeing E.T. laying there, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even remember that scene. At first, I was like, am I sure I don't have the new version of this? And they added this in because I completely had forgotten about that. And then by the time they get him back to the house,
yeah,
he's just white. And I mean, I'm sorry, I don't care how old you are. Dude, that pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. That's a rough scene to watch. Like, you're like, oh my God, E.T.'s going to die. I'm so sad. I don't remember how he comes out. It's like, that's the part I completely blanked out on. I'm like, I don't remember him dying like this. And like, oh my gosh, like this is horrible. And I'm sad. And I'm glad there's not a little kid in the room with me because I'd be crying.
I just figured it out. That's why they made Optimus Prime turn gray in Transformers. They were copying E.T.
It's pretty darn close. I mean,
He's a robot alien. He's going to turn gray.
Yeah, you may be on to something on that one.
I mean, because the Transformers movie came out in 86?
84, I believe.
Okay. Still, it was after this, so.
Bumblebee, how can we get some of that ET profit? I don't know. Turn yourself gray when you die. I like it. Autobots, turn gray.
They just transform into a headstone. I think that was on
I think
that was on Family Guy or something.
Yeah, so they get ET back to the house, and then all of a sudden the government shows up. So was I the only one that was a little concerned about, them just breaking into the doors?
In spacesuits? Like they're, oh, well, we had these left over from the moon landing. We thought we'd just invade your house with them. I'm like, what the hell? Like, we got hazmat suits, but it seemed a little underwhelming. Let's put a spacesuit on and go into their house. And what's with the dude coming through the window? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Just for the record, that's the Reagan administration busting in on there.
Yes.
They all walk in the spacesuits, and then later they're like ripping off helmets and stuff after E.T. quote dies.
Well, not even then. It comes before that. They're doing hazmat protocol. It's the weakest protocol I've ever seen. And that one guy walks in, he's got his hazmat suit on, stuff, but he's got his sleeves rolled up. He's got like exposed arms and stuff. I'm like, nobody's going to do that. I've had to dress in clean room gowning before, and we are better protected just in a clean room than those people were in this show. It was just incredible. And the thing that really strikes me about is that Steven Spielberg wanted that scene to be so realistic with the doctors that every doctor that's in that is an actual real medical doctor and real nurses.
Oh,
So
wow.
he brought them all in. So the jargon would be correct and they'd act like they were really trying to, revive a real patient in the procedures that they would normally do in an ER setting and things like that. So he went to that extent to make sure he had that realism, and then just completely botches the entire, like hazmat protocols. It just like,
They cut out product placement there, Tim. The real doctors refused to spray down with Raid because that's why they thought they were protected. The real doctors like, fuck no.
Yeah.
You crazy?
Yeah.
We go
and my other
product placements.
My other favorite part too was, if we go back just a little bit before that, was when they're in the chase and they're in that car and it says U.S. government, because there's a lot of those cars flying around. Not FBI, not police, not Homeland Security, I guess, which wasn't a thing yet, but U.S. government. I'm like, that's just the hook. That and the station wagon with the lights on. It's like, we ain't got enough cop cars. Just throw lights on anything. Here's a station wagon. It's baby blue. Put the lights on it. Make it a chase vehicle. It was just ridiculous. So this is where the movie starts to fall apart. Like, I don't know if he's just getting tired or what, but he's like, we gotta finish this thing. We spent our whole budget making E.T. turning them white with the baby powder and cornstarch. we gotta move on. I'm paying all these doctors. You can't believe what they're costing me an hour.
So then E.T., he basically, quote, expires. And then Keys, we find out God, I can't think of the actor's name, but he shows up in a bunch of other...
Keys? Peter Cody.
Peter Cody, yeah. So Peter Cody shows up as Keys, and we get a little bit of idea that, okay, he has sympathy for Elliot. And then after they see the alien, E.T. die, he allows Elliot to come in and see E.T. And so they all leaving the boy alone with this alien body. Yeah, I realize that when it was alive, it was around him, but still, you are a government official. You have an alien specimen, and you just walk away.
Yeah. Would you like a couple minutes with the alien by yourself, son? Sure, no problem. Everybody, clear the room. Let the boy and alien have a moment.
That's what I don't get is, how does E.T. resurrect? By all intents, we think he's dead, but yet just because Elliot cries, "Don't die, E.T.," he comes back to life. No,
it's when the aliens are getting close by and he can sense them, and I don't know if they somehow are able to send life force at him. But it was definitely him honing in on some kind of signal they were sending to him, that glowing heart thing that they were doing. Somehow rejuvenate him. That's my take on it. And he looks fantastic. Pops up like, look, no cornstarch or baby powder on me anymore. I look fantastic. I'm ready to go. Ready to go home. E.T. go home. So yeah, it was a little weird. I had to sit and think about that, but that's my take on it.
A lot of people agree. They're saying that the telepathic link is repaired when his people revisit Earth. They're close by, and it causes his heart to glow and revive him. That's right. E.T. had the glow before The Last Dragon and Bruce Leroy.
Show enough. So then E.T. is then rescued now by a bunch of kids. And then that's where we get our wonderful digital reconfigured, some jiggery pokery, change the film where, they're all running now instead of having service revolvers and shotguns, but they're running around with walkie-talkies chasing the kids.
I just want to put in a little life tip. If you need rescuing, don't rely on kids. That only works in the movies.
It does.
They will fuck it up. In fact, I think you're going to get more charges because you're endangering minors.
But this is also the scene that, so the kids rescue E.T. on the bikes, right? Well, if they steal the van, they meet up with the bikes. That is also another one that they try to do in Stranger Things. The kids also try to get away on bikes, if you remember. So that was another one where they kind of stole that directly from E.T. or did a homage, if you will.
To be fair, they can't drive.
True. But what was really neat, though, is that actually in Stranger Things, they were able to do another classic 80s trope. There's your trope for the day.
Trope it.
11 was able to reach her hand out.
It's okay, man. Lots of guys
like
suffer
powers
from
and flip the car and cause it to burst.
She did, yeah.
So
you know who else gets around all on bikes besides kids? Adults with too many DUIs. I saw that in Florida a lot.
I see that here in town.
So the kids are running on their bicycles now after saving, stealing, kidnapping E.T. We get a scene of all the kids take off on their bicycles because E.T. is able to tap into that force power that he learned from Yoda. So the kids can fly into the forest.
Fly on your bikes, you will. Away from the government you shall be.
And then we get this long, like, goodbye sequence with Elliot and E.T. And
He says goodbye to everybody, though.
yeah.
Do you remember what he said to Gertie? Behave. She didn't.
No.
I will.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
but I like where Spielberg tries to double down on that scene too. He's like, well, the shot with E.T. and Elliot and the moon worked out real good. Let's put all the boys in front of the sun. Nah, that didn't work out so well. Not quite as awesome as your moon scene, but we'll give it to you. Points for trying.
Yeah.
What did E.T. invite Elliot to do?
Come.
That's right. That's exactly what he did. Like I said, E.T.'s a fucking pedophile. Anyways. And then Elliot misinterpreted that and he said, stay.
No, he didn't
And
misinterpret
then
it. He
E.T. was
telling him he
hurt by
gonna
that
stay.
reaction and he goes, ouch.
No, sir. That you got that completely wrong. It was come as in come with me. Then he's like, no, I have to stay. And then he's crying, and then E.T. points at his tears. He's like, ouch. And then he's like, but I'll be right here, and points at his head.
Yes, he'll always be forever burned into Elliot's mind.
Yeah, no
For
shit.
all the
Who's gonna
terrible
forgive
things
me?
that he did, violating his brain.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he comes back though. There was a sequel. Wasn't it a Comcast commercial?
Yeah, there was a 4-minute. It wasn't a Comcast. I think it was a cellular phone commercial.
Nope, it was Comcast.
Was it
Or was it-
Comcast? Okay.
Or was it
Pretty sure it was
DirecTV?
Comcast. Oh shit, was it? What the fuck?
Oh, we're both wrong. Matt wins.
E.T. Super Bowl commercial.
I thought it was DirecTV.
E.T. Super Bowl Shuffle.
E.T. commercial, a holiday reunion. Xfinity.
Either Joey just broke up or the internet guys are trying to prove that I win.
Comcast, NBC, Universal.
We're not letting you see a reunion with them, but you can go ride the ride, which is still going. They moved it from Universal Hollywood to Universal Florida. It's still going to this day.
Oh, wow.
It's
Yeah.
a shit ride. It's not good. But that was not a Super Bowl commercial. Apparently, it was some kind of holiday commercial. And then E.T. had a very, very blue parka on. I liked it. He looked good in blue. Now we know what religion E.T. is.
Or he just wore because, it matched his eyes.
Yeah. Or they couldn't put him in red because, they get confused with his Prilosect heart.
They put him in, wasn't he? Was he ever wearing Elliot's red hooded sweatshirt in it at some point?
No.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
That's all in my head? Okay.
Just a ghost costume and his medical blanket. At least a medical sheet, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, so that was basically the movie in a nutshell. Well, a 2-hour nutshell, I guess.
It's a good movie, though. A lot to talk about. And
It is.
I enjoyed the ending. I thought it was a nice touch. And again, since he filmed it the way he did chronologically, he was able to get the emotions out of those kids. Cause like, okay, this is going to be the last time you're ever going to see E.T. Again, the older kid, probably not so much, but the two younger ones, yeah, it was probably, they kind of gotten used to filming this and stuff. So those were real emotions that kind of had going on. Cause it was,
Yeah.
end of filming. We're never going to get to see this E.T. character again. So I think it really, really sold it. He knew what he's doing with the children on the direction he gave and how he did it.
Do you know how the actor who played Elliot got the part?
I do, but I'll let you tell it if you like.
Well, he almost blew it, and then he thought about his dog dying, and he cried during the audition.
It didn't Steven Spielberg tell him right off the bat, "You got it, kid"?
No, it was after the
It
crying.
could be some shit they made up for electronic press kits. I have no idea.
No, so I guess the kid, the person who plays him, Henry Thomas, told during a 2012 interview with Today, it was like he was auditioning with it, and he was thinking about his dog that actually just passed away, is what it was, and so he started crying, and by the end of it, everybody was in tears. And that's when Steve looks at him and says, "Kid, you got the job."
Yeah.
I think there's actually that audition. I think you can find on YouTube.
I think I have to go back and take a look at the DVD I have, but I think it's a special on one of the special features on the DVD I own.
Okay.
Which was the 2005 re-release cut or whatever it was. So I think the only other thing I wanted to talk about for E.T. that wasn't just about the movie was John Williams. I mean, his score is all over this movie, and I don't think this movie would be as great as it is if it wasn't for his music. I mean, everything Steven Spielberg does is because he has John Williams there to kind of give that feel to his movies. And I just wanted to know what you guys thought of John Williams being used in this movie.
Oh yeah, huge. I mean, let's face it, he's a huge part of this film, a huge part of the Star Wars films, for sure. I mean, without his music, if you were to turn the soundtrack off to this movie, you would lose so much of it. Like it's the visuals, the great acting, the great directing, and the music that just brings this whole thing together. I mean, it just pulls the whole film together. And I think if you lost any one of those, it's going to be horrible. And I think one of the most interesting things with John Williams that I read about was that when he was doing this, he was having a real hard time with the end part. I believe the chase scene, he couldn't quite get the timing right that he was, to go along with what he was seeing on screen. So Spielberg, having such respect for him, said, "Look, you just you write the music how you think it should be, and I'll take care of it." And after he was done with the score for that part of it, Spielberg went back in and re-edited it to make it match Williams' music. And there's not very many directors, I think, in this world that are going to give, anybody who's either making a score or, setting up the music for a movie or whatever, that kind of I don't want to say power, but, to do that for them. They're going to be like, "No, you need to figure this out because this is how it's edited, and I'm not going to back and fix it." Spielberg's like, "No, you are so good at what you do. I'll make the film work with your music because it's that important."
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, John, he has so much emotion put into his music that any of the movies that you see that he's part of, you can't put Randy Newman in there. There's no way you're going to get the same feeling and emotions that John Williams puts into the music for a movie like this.
I wish I could do a decent Randy Newman impersonation right there.
You got a friend in me.
Yeah, the alien. Yeah, Henry Thomas would go on to do more little kid roles. Can you name another movie where he's a little kid and it's all about him and there's lots of child endangerment?
No, because I can't think of
Cloak and Dagger.
Oh, I do remember
Bingo.
Cloak and Dagger, the D&D-esque movie that wasn't called D&D.
the one with yet another imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Well, D.E.T. wasn't imaginary.
No, he wasn't. But Spielberg got the whole idea of this movie because Spielberg had his own imaginary friend that he created when his parents had a divorce. So there's a lot of elements.
Oh, and it was an alien.
There's a lot of elements in this movie based on Steven Spielberg's own childhood and how he made his own imaginary friend when his parents got a divorce, and a lot of the things that you see is just the way he processed it growing up. So that's
not healthy if he was like 10 years old, by the way.
Well,
I'm gonna give him a pass if he was 5. If you're 10 and you got an imaginary friend, you're schizophrenic.
That's not true, because we had a kid when I was younger that moved in next door to us, a family, and the mother had just gotten divorced from the father, and the son stopped talking so long that he had to almost relearn to talk again. Like he was that messed up by it. So kids cope however they can.
Yeah, but he didn't imagine an imaginary friend though. He was just he probably had other things going on too. But like it was probably more traumatic than you knew about, and so he stopped talking. But it's like, okay, but he didn't see somebody that wasn't there. Yeah. And I was really hoping, Tim, that you said the next door neighbor kid invented an imaginary friend instead of playing with you, because that would have been hilarious.
That's cold, man.
That is cold. What other
I'm
alien
pretty sure
movie?
we're getting something out of Joey's younger life that he's just trying to,
Oh, I had to imagine everything because I lived out. I was surrounded by cornfields and wood.
Well, let me
Um,
ask you this: is it creepy if you say that you have an imaginary friend that lives in Canada and she's hot?
No, that's called high school. What other alien movie did Henry Thomas appear in 11 years later? I don't know how big his role is, by the way.
I don't know.
Fire in the Sky. How does Henry Thomas connect to the world of Alfred Hitchcock? What Alfred Hitchcock character does Henry Thomas play in 1990? I thought it was later than 1990. Wow.
I said the only other thing I think that Henry Thomas was in was
He'd have been 18 or
the
19.
movie Suicide Kings with Christopher Walken.
You're not wrong, but he played Norman Bates in Psycho 4, which I like.
and you're probably one of 5 people who watched it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Like, I don't really know anything that he did outside of E.T. He's just not that. In fact, I could probably be watching a movie with him as an adult in it and not even know it's him. I mean, honestly.
You haven't. He was in Dr. Sleep as the bartender. Let's see. He was in 9 episodes of Stargirl. He was in Pet Cemetery Bloodlines, which is a movie that came out months ago.
And every one of those is something I have not watched.
Back to E.T. Is there any
Right.
final thoughts that you guys have on E.T.?
I think there's a couple things we should talk about. First of all, let me throw a little trivia out for you. Did you guys know Robert Zemeckis actually had he suggested a key pivotal scene to Steven Spielberg for this film?
What was that?
And it actually paid off, just in spades. So he's the one that recommended that they have E.T. hide in the closet with all the stuffed animals when E.T. is hiding from the mother.
Nice.
So Robert Zemeckis had actually suggested that to him.
And
then Spielberg returned the favor in Back to the Future by basically not, he's like, look, I know they want to name that show Spaceman from Pluto. I'll make sure that doesn't happen. So that was like, it's kind of like helping out with him. So it's kind of a weird thing, but I thought that was a little
Bobby Z to the rescue.
And then another interesting little piece of trivia too is like one of the best lines that Gertie says when she sees E.T. for the first time. And she's like, I don't like his feet. It was because she was actually looking at E.T. the puppet. And they had like the little wires and stuff stuck to his feet. And she's like, I don't like his feet or whatever. And I guess Spielberg was recording when this was going on. And he thought it was really cute. So when you see her see E.T. in the actual show, and they kind of look, she sees him, and then they kind of pan over to E.T. Then they pan down to see the feet. That's why you don't see her actually say the line, because he's just adding it in over the pan shot of E.T.
nice.
So I thought that was kind of cute too. And those are probably 2 of the biggest things I have, that I just thought was worth mentioning about the show as a whole. Do either one of you have anything?
It is funny that the whole hiding in the closet with all the stuffed animals around them. There are so many different movies that have done that same thing as either an homage or just a flat out rip off of that.
Oh yeah, I think the other
Doesn't it sound nicer when they say paid homage?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a nice way of saying ripped off. So, but I think sometimes it's a blatant rip off and sometimes it is an honest homage to the movie. So, yeah, I don't know how I can define that easily, but I think when you see it. I mean, it's just, becomes very apparent. But I think the other 2 big points about this movie that I thought were interesting was, one, for as many awards that they won, they did not win Best Movie. Do you guys know what actually beat E.T. out?
No.
Gandhi.
Oh.
I mean,
yeah, because that's one everyone bought on home video.
Yeah, it didn't get Best Picture. It lost it out to Gandhi. And everybody in the room thought for sure that Steven Spielberg was going to get it for this film, including the director for Gandhi, which is, I think, Richard Attenborough. And even he said, like, he thought E.T. should have won. He's like, and he went on to call his own films more mundane. So even he was like, there's no reason why I should have won this. Like, he was just flabbergasted. And it's just, wow, I can't believe this movie did not win, for as great as it is. And then there was also there's a little bit of how do I want to say it? Well, just straight out there's a person who says that E.T. was ripped off from him. So little scandal, if you will. That's the word I was trying to reach for. There's a little scandal with this movie. Did you guys know what that's about?
No, I didn't know that E.T. was it. Is it the writer from Mac and Me?
No, Mac and Me came much later, so they ripped E.T. off blatantly. But in 1967, supposedly a script for a movie called The Alien was written by a Indian director, and I'm gonna completely slaughter his name, Satyajit Ray, and he accused Spielberg of plagiarizing his script for E.T. And I guess he didn't take legal action against him, but he was very angry about it and put out the accusation. And there was even Martin Scorsese says that he thinks Spielberg might have actually been influenced by it, even though Spielberg says he'd never seen it or read the script or anything at that point in time. But yeah, so little scandal, if you will, with the movie.
It wasn't settled out of court or anything. Like the guy just kept. He was okay with having spite and trashing somebody's name over.
Yeah, he said
never having to work again.
He didn't want to take legal action against him because he didn't want to be vindictive. What that probably means is, I know I don't have enough money to put together into a pot to go against Steven Spielberg's lawyers because the guy's made him money. He's just prints money all day long.
Steven Spielberg's lawyer his name was Bruce because he named the shark of Jaws after his lawyer.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that either.
But I thought those were some interesting things that, kind of little backstory, if you will, that you might not normally find out about unless you do some digging like I did. But I thought they were interesting enough to bring up.
They are. I think what I've always liked about E.T. is just the cast, because there's like so many kids in that movie that when you go back to watch it, like, oh my goodness, like Erica Alanka, you're like, oh, hey, she shows up later on in Baywatch. And of course, C. Thomas Howell's in it. I mean, he's got a small part, but it's like he goes on to do movies like The Outsiders and, a lot of, classic 80s and 90s movies. And I was like, wow, there's a young C. Thomas Howell there. I was like,
well, and then there's a couple people that were either not supposed to be in this movie and got a part, or were supposed to be in this movie and then were dropped. So interestingly enough, actually Drew Barrymore being one of them. So she had auditioned for Poltergeist. And they did not give that to her, but Spielberg was like, I have the right movie for you. And so he took from her audition for Poltergeist and gave her the part of E.T.
Nice.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. And then there was one Corey Feldman that was supposed to be in the film. And at the last moment, Spielberg pulled him out. And he felt pretty bad about it. So since he did a last minute switch up with whatever character Corey was supposed to play, I'm guessing either was Elliot. I don't know. I think Corey would have been pretty young there, or the older brother maybe, or one of the, I don't know who, but
could have been one of the friends.
Yeah, it could have been one of the friends. And so he actually got Corey the part for Gremlins.
Nice.
Yeah. So those were a couple little change ups that happened that I thought was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, I can't see Corey Feldman playing Elliot.
And
he wasn't going to play Elliot.
I don't know if it was Elliot. I'm just saying, like, maybe it was that part.
Might have been one of his, a friend that got cut out of the script.
That's what I got. I don't think I have a whole lot more to really bring up about it that is really fit to print.
What about you, Joey? Any last minute things that you want to add before we segue into our rating system?
No, I'm ready for that death clock.
All right, and let's roll it out. So, Tim, in the death clock, is it worth the hour and 55 minutes?
It should be worth an hour and 55 minutes several times in your life, hands down. You should watch it for yourself. You should watch it with anybody that has never seen it. You should watch it with your children. And if you live long enough, with your grandchildren. It's such a good film. It's such a heartwarming film. I would like to sit in a room with a younger child that has never seen it just to watch their reaction more so than to watch the film with them, but just watch them watch the film. Because I think there's a little magic with it that, when you show it to a kid for the first time, it's just, you can't beat that.
I think that kid would just ask for his phone back.
I think when you have a truly good film, sometimes it can trump the digital technology in your hand.
I have to agree with Tim. I would think, and this movie is, again, it's on my death clock. Same sentiments.
Did your kids watch it from beginning to end?
They have seen it from beginning to end. Now, mind you, for the podcast, I watched it, when they fell asleep because we have all kinds of stuff going on. But yeah, they love this movie just as much as I do. It is truly a magical movie. It falls into that 80s nostalgia, 80s wonder of when filmmaking was about telling whole family stories. What's the word I'm looking for?
Heartwarming family.
Yes, heartwarming family movies.
People try to capture the spirit of his movies, this movie. Super 8 tried to do it. It's over. It's a bygone era. There's a lot of nice things to say about this movie. Obviously you guys recommend it. I say if you're over the age of 13, you missed your opportunity to enjoy E.T. the way it was meant to be enjoyed. It's for kids.
I think you can come back to the well. I think at the right time in your life, if you watch it, I think it could still have that magic. I don't think watching it in your 20s or 30s, maybe not so much, but when you start to have your own kids, your perspective changes. And I think that you appreciate a movie like this, not only for what it can bring to the table as a family, but just the messaging. Like I said, that's a wholesome family show that you can sit down and watch, and you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry a little bit, and then you're gonna feel real good about it at the end.
Disagree. I think it's a movie that if you saw as a kid, you're gonna have nostalgia looking back on it as an adult. If you did not watch it as a kid, I don't think that you get what the big deal was. I certainly don't think that kids that are over, like 13 or over now watching E.T., I don't think they would give two shits.
Okay.
All right. So you're not recommended then. So that's 2 for and 1 against. Okay.
If you're under 13.
So this is Joey's 101 movies you should watch before you're turn 13.
If you're under 13 and listening to this podcast, I'm sorry.
You shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be. Hopefully your parent is listening and they're like, you know what? I've never shown my kid this movie. I need to show it to them before they turn into a fucking miserable teenager.
I think if you
gotta do it now.
If you're
buy it on 4K.
If you're under 13 and they're listening to this podcast, it's because their mom said, stay right here, I'll be right back, don't move. And they got in the car and went down the street for some reason. They're like, I'm going to listen to this podcast.
It's got an explicit tag on it.
That means it's dirty.
If they're listening to this podcast, it's by accident, and then they dropped their phone and broke the screen and can't turn it off.
Listen, honey, your mommy doesn't want you to be listening to this. You need to turn it off now and go to bed. You're a bad child.
And with that note, we are now into mail call. So if you're that 13-year-old kid that wants to write into the show and tell us what you think of E.T., or if this is a mom and dad that want to show this movie to their kid and you want to tell us what your kid thought about it, write us at mamreviewpodcast@gmail.com. That's mamreviewpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll read your email right here on the show out on our mail call. Well then, guys, what are you watching now?
I just got done binging the entire second season of Invincible with my son.
It's a good show.
Yeah, we watched one episode one night, and then he had something he had to go do. And then the next night we started the second episode, and we just plowed through all of it, got to the end and was like, oh, it's such a good show. And they cannot make the third season fast enough. It just, not one that you should be watching with your children now. Not that kind of animated series, but it's great for adults. I mean, just such a great show. It's got good plot points, good character development, good storylines, just everything. So highly recommend that. Go. Almost everybody on the planet has, Amazon Prime. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to watch this show. And if you don't have it, well, pay for it, watch the show, and get all your Christmas presents free shipping this year. Splurge.
Nice. Hey, Tim, I do have the inspiration for that series, the comic books. If you ever want to borrow them, and then after you read them, put them in a bag and just set them to the side.
Set them in my Maddie pile?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
What about you, Joey? What are you watching?
I just got halfway through the first episode of Parasite. It's a Korean Netflix series, not to be confused with the Oscar-winning Korean movie Parasite. This one's spelled with a Y instead of an I, and it has the colon subtitle The Gray, which I have no idea why it's called that. I think it's kind of like the movie The Raid, where there was already a movie called The Raid, so they had to put the colon subtitle Redemption in there. I think it's just a matter of like they don't want to cause market confusion or get sued. But it unlike the movie being a metaphor for the word parasite, this is about alien parasites, and
Are they plant aliens?
It's ripping off Dead Space. It's ripping off Resident Evil 4. It is ripping off Resident Evil 5. It is ripping off by proxy The Thing, because that's what those video games ripped off. But it does it in a good way. The special effects are great, and it's disgusting, and wiggly things come out of people's faces really fast.
Nice.
And bugs bore into people's ears. So I look forward to finishing that first episode and the other 5 that follow.
And then you got to watch Black Summer, Joey. I keep telling you, you're missing one of the best zombie films ever, or series ever. You got to go watch that.
Eventually.
Yeah. Get that up on your list. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. Matt, how about you?
Well, I just finished watching the 3rd season of The Chosen, which is that series I told you about a couple episodes ago about Jesus Christ. And now I'm kind of working my way through the rest of the TV series Ghost on Paramount Plus, which is the US version of the British show Ghosts. Other than that, I've been too busy to watch anything else other than our own homework.
I will say you've piqued my interest. I had kind of written off that Ghost show, that I didn't really want to watch it, but now that you sold me on it when you told us about it last time. So I think that I think that might be. Right now I'm working on, since we finished The Invincible with my son. My son and I think are going to watch Into the Badlands, the AMC series.
Okay.
So I'll kind of let you guys know if we move on with that. And I'm watching the original Newhart series with my wife. But I think when I'm done with that one, I think we might move on to the Ghost series.
Nice. Yeah, because I think your wife would like the Ghost series. Like I said, it's got Rose McIver in it, who was in iZombie.
Which I love.
Yeah, and they make reference to Newhart in Ghost. So
nice.
Now I'm not. I should say they make reference to the bed and breakfast version of Newhart.
Yes, that's Newhart.
Okay.
That's
Well, because there was like 3 Bob Newhart shows. So
right.
Yeah.
It's the psychology one first, the bed and breakfast one, or the Stratford Inn one second, and then he's a comic book writer in the 3rd one, which I think only lasted 1 or 2 seasons.
Sadly, it only lasted 1 or 2 seasons. It was funny. Yeah. It was a good show. I liked it. It has absolutely nothing to the fact that I liked comic books, but it was a good show.
I think that one was just called Bob.
Yes. And he made a cool character called Mad Dog, which Marvel Comic Books created one issue for, where the front side was the supposed comic book that Bob Newhart wrote, and then the flip side was the more 90s extreme version of Mad Dog.
Nice.
So
nice. That's a nice tie-in now to him ending up in Big Bang Theory too. So there we go. Like, it kind of helps tie all that together.
There you
go. Who
knew
knew Bob Newhart was a geek at heart?
Exactly.
So I guess with that, thanks for listening, everybody, to the Middle Age Movie Reviews podcast. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. 2 of the 3 of us hope that you'll go watch E.T. over and over again. And I guess one of us will only suggest it if you're under the age of 13. So it's like 2.5 sickles. You're getting 2.5, I guess, size, really. 2.5 size. So there you go.
Subscribe to our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, and YouTube. Check out more of our stuff on Facebook and Instagram at Mam Reviews Podcast, as well as episode posts and news on X. We're also part of the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network.
Come, stay, ouch. Good night. Hey, thanks for listening. We're giving away a digital code for Fright Night. That's right, we don't have an ET code. If you're one of the first ones to email our show at mamreviewpodcast@gmail.com, that's MAM review podcast@gmail.com, then it's yours. Just put ET in the subject line because that makes sense. And you'll get a different 1980s movie, a digital code for Fright Night.